परमहंस परिवाचकाचार्य स्तोत्र श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की
जय
आनंद गौड़ी वैष्णव वृंद की
जय
नवाचार्य दास ठाकुर की
जय।
प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की
जय।
तथा गो प्रेमानंदे
हरि हरि बोल।
all glories assembled devotees of glories assembled
हरे
devotees
कृष्ण
all glories assembled
हरे
Guru
कृष्ण
Lord.
हरे कृष्ण।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
ओम नमो भगवते
भगवते
वासुदेवाय।
वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 5, Narada's instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam. Today's verses 16, 17 and 18. Verse 16. Vijakshanosyarhadi veditam vibho anandaparasya nivartida sukham pravartamanasya guneratmanam tato bhavan darshaya cheshtidam vibho. Vijakshanosyarhadi veditam vibho anandaparasya nivartida sukham pravartamanasya guneratmanas तदो भवान् दर्शया चेष्टिदं विभो विदक्षिणोऽस्यार्हति वेदितुं विभो आनन्दभारस्य निवर्तितः सुखं प्रवर्तमानस्य गुणैर्नात्मनास् तदो भवान् दर्शय चेष्टिदं विभो. शरजमाजी.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। विचक्षणोऽस्य हरिवेदिदं विभोर अनंत पारस्य निवर्तितः सुगम प्रवर्तमानस्य गुणैरनात्मना स्नदो भगवान् दर्शयो चेष्टिदं विभो. हरे कृष्ण.
हरे कृष्ण. Yes. मेरिंदमाजी.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
कृष्ण.
तत्तनो अस्यार्हति विदितं विभोर अनन्तापारस्य निवृत्तितः सुखं प्रवर्तमानस्य गुणैः अनात्मनस् ततो भवान् दर्शया चेष्टितं विभो. हरे कृष्ण. May I read, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Vichakshana, very expert. Asya, of him. Arhati, deserves. Veditam, to understand. Vibho, of the Lord. Ananta Parasya, of the unlimited. Nivrittitaha, retired from. Sukham, material happiness. Pravartamanasya, those who are attached to. Gunhe, by the material qualities. Anatmanaha, devoid of knowledge and spiritual values. Tataha, therefore, Bhavan, your goodness, Darshaya, show the ways, Cheshtitam, activities, Vibho, of the Lord. Translation: the Supreme Lord is unlimited. Only a very expert personality, retired from the activities of material happiness, deserves to understand this knowledge of spiritual values. Therefore, those who are not so well situated due to material attachment should be shown the ways of transcendental realization by your goodness through descriptions of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. Theological science is a difficult subject, especially when it deals with the transcendental nature of God. It is not a subject matter to be understood by persons who are too much attached to material activities. Only the very expert who have almost retired from material activities by culture of spiritual knowledge can be admitted to the study of this great science. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that out of many hundreds and thousands of men, only one person deserves to enter into transcendental realization. And out of many thousands of such transcendently realized persons, only a few can understand their theological science, specifically dealing with God as a person. Sri Vyasadeva is therefore advised by Narada to describe the science of God directly by relating his transcendental activities. Vyasadeva is himself a personality, expert in the science, and he is unattached to material enjoyment. Therefore, he is the right person to describe it. And Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, is the right person to receive it. Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost theological science, and therefore it can react on the layman as medicinal doses. Because it contains the transcendental activities of the Lord, there is no difference between the Lord and the literature. The literature is the factual literary incarnation of the Lord. So the layman can hear the narration of the activities of the Lord. Thereby, they are able to associate with the Lord, and thus gradually become purified from the material disease. The expert devotees also can discover novel ways and means to convert the non-devotees in terms of particular time and circumstance. Devotional service is dynamic activity, and the expert devotees can find out competent means to inject it into the dull brains of the materialistic population. Such transcendental activities of the devotees for the service of the Lord can bring a new order of life to the foolish society of materialistic men. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his subsequent followers exhibited expert dexterity in this connection. By following the same method, one can bring the materialistic men of this age of quarrel into order for peaceful life and transcendental realization. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Verse 17. Tektva swadharmam charanambujam hare bhajannavakvotha pade dado yadi yatra kva bhagamamushamut abhudamushakim kovartapto avajadam swadharmadam Tektva swadharmam charanambujam hare bhajan abhakwatha pade dado yadi yatra kva bhagam abhudamushakim Kuvartapto abhajadam sudharmadam. Tektva sudharmam charanambujam hare bhajan abhakwatha pade dado yadi yatra kva vabhadram abhudamushikim kuvartapto abhajadam sudharmadam. Sarjamaji.
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय त्यक्ता स्वधर्मं चरणाम्बुजं हरेर् भजन्नवकोदपदे तदो यदि यत्र क्वा वा भद्रम् अबोधभूष्य किं को वार्त आप्तो भजदां सदमदाः हरे कृष्ण
Yes, Melinda Maji.
Hare Krishna. त्यक्त्वा स्वाधर्मं चरणाम्बुजं हरेर् भजन् अपक्वो अर्थात् पतेत् ततो यदि यत्र क्व वा भाद्रम् अभूत् अमुष्य किं को वार्थ आप्तो अभजतां स्वधर्मतः. हरे कृष्ण.
Nigdamaji.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय त्यक्त्वा स्वधर्मं चरणम्बुजं हरेत् भजनं पक्वथ पतते तत्तो यदि यत्र क्व वा भद्रम् अद्भुतं मुष्यकिं को वार्थ आप्तो अभजतां स्वधर्मतः. May I read the synonyms?
Yes.
Synonyms: Tyaktva, having forsaken; Swadharmam, one's own occupational engagement; Charana Ambujam, the lotus feet; Harer, of Hari; Bhajana, in the course of devotional service; Apakva, immature; Atha, for the matter of; Patet, falls down; Tatah, from that place; Yadi, if; Yatra, where; upon; Kwa, what sort of; Va, or; Abhadram, unfavorable; Abahut, shall happen; Amushya, of him; Kim, nothing; Kah, Va, artha, what interest; Aptah, obtained; Abhajatam, of the non-devotee; Swadharmatah, being engaged in occupational service. Translation: His Divine Grace is Translation: One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage, yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duty, doesn't gain anything. Purport His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. As far as the duties of mankind are concerned, there are innumerable duties. Every man is duty bound not only to his parents, family members, society, country, humanity, other living beings, the demigods, etc., but also to the great philosophers, poets, scientists, etc. It is enjoined in the scriptures that one can relinquish all such duties and surrender unto the service of the Lord. So, if one does so and become successful in the discharge of his devotional service unto the Lord, it is well and good. But it so happens sometimes that one surrenders himself unto the service of the Lord by some temporary sentiment, and in the long run, due to so many other reasons, he falls down from the path of service by desirable association. There are so many instances of this in the histories. Bharat Maharaj was obliged to take his birth as a stake due to his intimate attachment to a stag. He thought of his stag when he died. As such, in the next birth, he became a stag. Although he did not forget the incident of his previous birth, similarly, Chitraketu also fell down due to his offenses at the feet of Shiva. But in spite of all this, the stress is given here to surrounding onto lotus feet of the Lord, even if there is a chance of falling down, because even though one falls down from the prescribed duties of devotional service, he will never forget the lotus feet of the Lord. Once engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, one will continue the service in all circumstances. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that even a small quantity of devotional service can save one from the most dangerous position. There are many instances of such examples in the story. Ajamila is one of them. Ajamila in his early life was a devotee, but in his youth he fell down. Still he has saved by the Lord at the end. Hare Krishna.
Right. Verse number 18. Tasyaiva hedo prayadeda kovido labhyade yad न लभ्यते यत् भ्रमदाम् उपद्यताम् तल्लभ्यते दुःखवद् अन्यतः सुखं कालेन सर्वत्र गभीररंहसा तस्यैव हेतो प्रयतेत कोविदो न लभ्यते यत् भ्रमदाम् उपद्यताम् तल्लभ्यते दुःखवद् अन्यतः सुखं कालेन सर्वत्र गभीररंहसा तस्यैव हेतो प्रयतेत कोविदो न लभ्यते यत् भ्रमदाम् उपद्यताम् तल्लभ्यते दुःखवत् अन्यतः सुखं कालेन सर्वत्र गभीररंहसा. शैलजमाजी.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभुजी. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. तस्यैव हेतो प्रयतेत कोविदो न लभ्यते यद् भ्रमदामुपहर्यता तलभ्यते दुःखवदन् अन्यथा सुखं कालेन सर्वत्र गम्भीररंहसा.
गभीररंहसा.
गम्भीररंहसा. हरे
स्निग्धमाजी.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. तस्यैव हेतुः प्रजतेत कोविदो न लभ्यते जद्भ्रमतामुपर्यतः तल्लभ्यते दुःखवदन्यतः सुखं कालेन सर्वत्र गभीररहंसा रहंसा
गभीररंहसा.
गभीररहंसा. हरे कृष्ण.
हरे कृष्ण. मिलिंदमाजी.
Hare Krishna. Tasyeva hetoh prayatita kovido na labhyate yad brahmatam upari adhah tal alabhyate dukhavad anyatah sukham kalena sarvatra gabhira ramhasa. May I read her?
Yes.
Tasya, for that purpose, eva, only, hetoh, reason, prayatita, should endeavor, kovidaha, one who is philosophically inclined, na, not, labhyate, is not obtained, yat, what, brahmatam, wandering, upari adaha, from top to bottom, tat, that, labhyate, can be obtained, dukkhavat, like the miseries, anyata, as a result of previous work, sukham, sense enjoyment, kalena, in course of time, sarvatra, everywhere, gabhira, subtle, ramhasa, progress. Translation: persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, down to the lowest planet, Patala. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries, even though we do not desire them. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. Every man everywhere is trying to obtain the greatest amount of sense enjoyment by various endeavors. Some men are busy engaged in trade, industry, economic development, political supremacy, etc. And some of them are engaged in fruitive work to become happy in the next life by attaining higher planets. It is said that on the moon, the inhabitants are fit for greater sense enjoyment by drinking somrasa, and the Pitralok is obtained by good charitable work. So there are various programs for sense enjoyment, either during this life or in the life after death. Some are trying to reach the moon or other planets by some mechanical arrangement, for they are very anxious to get into such planets without doing good work. But it is not to happen. By the law of the Supreme, different places are meant for different grades of living beings according to the work they have performed. By good work only, as prescribed in the scriptures, can one obtain birth in a good family, opulence, good education, and good bodily features. We see also that even in this life, one obtains a good education or money by good work. Similarly, in our next birth, we get such desirable positions only by good work. Otherwise, it would not so happen that two persons born in the same place at the same time are seen differently placed according to previous work. But all such material positions are impermanent. The positions in the topmost Brahmaloka and in the lowest Patal are also changeable according to our own work. The philosophical inclined person must not be tempted by such changeable positions. He should try to get into permanent life of bliss and knowledge, where he will not be forced to come back again to the miserable material world, either in this or that planet. Miseries and mixed happiness are two features of material life, and they are obtained in Brahma Loka and in other lokas also. They are obtained in the life of the demigods and also in the life of the dogs and hogs. The miseries and mixed happiness of all living beings are only of different degree and quality, but no one is free from the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. Similarly, everyone has his destined happiness also. No one can get more or less of these things simply by personal endeavors. Even if they are obtained, they can be lost again. One should not, therefore, waste time with these flimsy things. One should only endeavor to go back to Godhead. That should be the mission of everyone's life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutare Swayam Rupagada Madhyam Dadadi Swapadadikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udapadavanam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sagana Raghunathanvidam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललितां श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्चाम् नमो कृष्णपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन् नामिने Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshanyavadi Prasharine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimade Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Shivashabhanavi Devi Daityaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnanadayine Prabhave Namaha माधुर्योजल प्रेमाढ्य श्री रूपानुगा भक्तिदाम गौर शक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपान गौराय ते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्री मूर्तये दीनतारिणे रूपानुगा विरधप सिद्धांत द्वंद्वहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्य मूर्तये विप्रलंबर सांबोधे पादांबुजे ते नमः नमो भक्ति विनोदाय सचिदानंद नामिने गौरशक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपानुगौराय ते गौरा विभवो मे निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रिया वैष्णव सार्वभौमो श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः श्रीरूपा सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथा श्रीजीव गोपाल भट्टा दास रघुनाथा एचाय गोशाय कोरि चरण बंधन जामोति विज्ञानाश अभीष्टपूरन् वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः वञ्चत् नमो महाधन्याय कृष्ण प्रेमपदाय ते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिगम् हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगल्पदे गोपेशा गोपिका कांदा नमस्ते जय राम स्वरूपम तो मम मंदमदे गदे मत् सर्वस्वपदाम्बोजो राधा मदन मोहनो दिव्यावृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमदां श्रीमद्रत्नाकरसिंहासनस्थौ श्रीमद्राधा शीलगोविन्ददेवो प्रेष्ठालिभिः सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमन् रासरसारम्भी वंशीवडत्तडस्थितः कर्षन् वेणुस्वनैर्गोपी गोपीनाथश्रियेतुनाम् तप्तकाञ्जनगौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुते देवी नमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्रीद्वैताधरा शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम हरे हरे कृष्णा which is better, the short version or the long version?
Long version, Prabhuji.
Right. विचक्षणोऽस्यार्हति वेदितं विभो आनन्दपारस्य निवर्तितः सुखं प्रवर्तमानस्य गुणैरनात्मनस्ततो भवान् दर्शया चेष्टितं विभो. The Supreme Lord is unlimited. Only a very expert personality retired from activities of material happiness deserves to understand this knowledge of spiritual values. Therefore, those who are not so well situated due to material attachment should be shown the ways of transcendental realization by your goodness through descriptions of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. Right. So, Narada Deva is glorifying Vyasadeva in verse number 14, saying that Bhavan, you have very pure eyes, pure vision, very pure vision. You are a rapt listener. Your listening is also very pure, and your mind is attached always to truth, and you are all very determined devotion service. And because you have all these qualities, you're determined to deliver the fallen souls from the rotting material activities. So, very great compliment is given by Sri Narada Deva to Vyasadeva. And because of this, you are having so many qualities, you are the right person to meditate, or rather, yes, Anusmara, Samadhina Anusmara, on the pastimes of the Lord, who Urukramasya, one who is performing the greatest deeds, Krishna. You're the fit person to remember these pastimes, and having internalized it, you should explain to others. That you should do. If you don't do that, if you do the opposite, what will happen? Tado anyada kinchana yat vivakshada pradak vidhast tat krida rupanamavi na karhijit kwapi na dustidamadi labedavadahada now vaspadam. You try to describe a path which has no connection with the name and form of Krishna. When that is not focused, we are trying to show a way, a gati to the fallen souls, to conditioned souls, which is separate from Krishna, then that mind will agitate. The mind will be agitated by the very words that you are using, because these words actually lack the speech, have the spiritual vacuum. They don't have the spiritual content. Only Krishna's pastimes have the real spiritual content. Others are showy type spiritualism, more inclined towards karma jnana, speculation and fruitive activities, rather than having a real spiritual content. And since there is no real spiritual content, what will happen? The mind gets agitated, and the agitated mind is compared to a boat struck by the wind in the river. So there's every chance of the boat to be capsized. Same way, every chance our spiritual life being spoiled by not focusing on Krishna. So Vyasadeva, by his compromising spirit, actually misled the people from the real path by describing a method which is indirect. Although he has glorified Krishna in many Puranas, Mahabharata also, he has glorified Krishna nicely. But that was not repeated. That was not repeatedly done. And so what happened? People who have got always inclined to sense gratification, because our natural tendency is only for sense gratification, because that is the reason why we are here. Because we have the natural tendency to enjoy sense gratification, we are now in this material world, and this habit of sense gratification is very difficult to get rid of. So when you encourage them by again feeding them on artha and kama, they will accept it because it is coming from you, who was a great scholar and realized person. So they believe this is a path that has been given to us by the great Vyasadeva, and they will cling to it. And they will not look for any alternative or a solution for this. Na manyade tasya nivaranam jana. How to get out of this trap of the material bondage? They will not think even. They will not even consider it. That means the last one, the moksha, is not at all coming to picture at all. So Vyasadeva says, this is a problem. This is a problem I am facing. Because people have natural tendency for sense gratification. When they have a natural tendency for sense gratification, if I preach to them the bhakti cult, only bhakti pastimes of Krishna, glorifying Krishna, the Navada Madhava prescribed straight away, directly, then these people will just leave the Vedas and seek for happiness in some other way outside Veda. So this is the reason why Vedavyasa tried to describe or tried to bring these fallen souls in a step-by-step indirect way to a liberated condition. So yesterday, Melinda Maji was asking why Vyasadeva did that. This is the reason actually, because he was thinking that people are jugupsidam. That's word is it, jugupsam dharmakare anshasadaha swabhavaraktasya mahan migda vedikrama. Swabhavaraktasya means the natural tendency of the bonded or the self, the jivas in the material world, who are existing jivas in the material world. Their natural tendency is sense gratification. So if I straight directly with bhakti, they may not like it. Why we have to leave everything and do bhakti only, leave karma, leave jnana? So they'll just back off from the spiritual life. They will not look at all for spiritual life and indulge only in gross material sense gratification without having a regard for Vedic injunctions, Vedic regulations. They'll completely move away from Vedic life. But Srinarada in this verse says, Vijakshano asyarhadi vedidin vibho. Not all persons are like that. Not all persons are like that. Not all persons are deprived of discrimination. Maybe thousands and thousands may not have the discretionary intelligence, but 1 out of 1,000 may have this. Srila Prabhupada is quoting the verse from Bhagavad Gita here.
Gita Prabhuji Manusyanang Sahasresu Sahasrensu Kastis.
Yes. So Manusyanam Sahasreshu Kastit Yadari Siddhaye. Only 1 out of 1,000 really seek for spiritual life. And out of those thousands, out of people, 1% out of who seeks really spiritual life, only very few really understand the science of Krishna. Understanding Krishna as a person is the greatest obstacle in the religious or spiritual life. So Srila Prabhupada starts with theological science is a difficult subject. So people are not inclined to it. Only 1 out of 1,000 will be interested in spiritual life. And out of that one, people out of that one, they may not really understand the real knowledge about Krishna. But such persons are also there. Such persons are also there. And if you describe to them the glories of Krishna, Prartamanasya Anandabarasya Nivartita Sukham, Anandabarasya Ananda Abarasya. Anandabarasya of the unlimited. Krishna the unlimited. If you describe the glories of Krishna to these persons, who is having this Krishna intelligence, Pravartamanasya means Pra plus Vartamanasya, who is still existing. Krishna is still having, even in this material sphere also, we say that Krishna has Nitya Leela is going on. And Krishna's, even if you don't and accept that, this is a literary work, Srimad Bhagavatam is describing the glories of Krishna. And Srimad Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna, person Krishna. So you can always find Krishna in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. So that means Pravartamanasya. So these people can be described, and like that, they in turn can educate or they can guide the other persons what completely in sense gratification. Like Acharati Shrestha Tadaivetaro Jana. Because bhakti cult is not taken up by everyone. Bhakti devotion service in its pure form is not taken up by many persons, taken up by very few only. So that Sri Narada say, you concentrate on that few only, that few itself will be do. They can turn the whole world. Tad vag visargo janadaga viplavo yasmin padishlogam avadhavadhi. These persons, by their work, they can change the consciousness of people who are materially inclined. So these persons are materially not at all, they are not at all given to sense gratification. That's why they are called vijekshana. So if Vasudeva can explain the glorification of Krishna to these persons, they in turn can guide. So that's a beautiful advice from Sri Narada. Because Vyasadeva was thinking, he didn't have a clue how to actually go ahead, because he is finding the difficulty in turning the minds of persons suddenly to Krishna. So here, Narada is describing method, how to do this. So these expert devotees can also find means to convert non-devotees in the terms of particular time and circumstances. Srila Prabhupada is speaking about himself only. Because devotional service is a dynamic activity. It's not static in the sense that you can only treat through fixed path. Preaching is a very dynamic activity. It depends on time, place, and circumstances. You cannot have the same type of preaching that is going on in India in Western countries. The Orient and Occident, the eastern parts of the world, are more spiritually inclined, while the western parts are basically sense gratification people who doesn't care much about spiritualism. So to preach to them effectively, you may not be able to do it successfully if you're using conventional methods of devotional service. You have to attune it to existing conditions where you are preaching. So Srila Prabhupada coined different, he was totally great expert in this. And so he introduced many novel things in the art of preaching, and devotion service, which may not have been liked by his own god brothers, but It was like by spiritual master. So we said, Yena Kena Pragarena Mana Krishna. So how to fix Krishna in your mind? Yena Kena Pragarena. Somehow or other, if you can help people to keep their mind on consciousness on Krishna alone, that is a great success. And for that, you may have to adopt so many means, different techniques, methods, and conventional methods may not be always sufficient all the time. So Srila Prabhupada says Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a Krishna's incarnation only, who introduced the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to masses, which was then a monopoly of the caste Brahmins. So casting aside their protest, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced the business, this cult, devotional service in India, which was carried forward by his associates over the next few centuries. And then after maybe 400 years after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's incarnation came Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada took this message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Western countries. So Srila Prabhupada was a totally realized person. He doesn't have this tinge of material desires in him. So sometimes we argue that persons who are past this material desires, only he can preach. Sometimes people conclude that means you have to be very mature enough. Mature means after 60 only you can take up this devotional service, spiritual life. But that is not the meaning. At any point of stage of life, you can take up and you must take up spiritual life, provided you understand the serious nature of the spiritual life. So these people who are inclined to, who have got a, what do you call it, a natural inclination spiritual life, because they have this Brahma Jnana, they are the Vijakshanas on whom Vyasadeva can concentrate, focus, and they can bring all those conditions also, help them to come back to Krishna. So by adopting many methods to attract people to Krishna, one can bring the materialist person of this age of coral in order for peaceful life and transcendental realization. So this is advice given by Maharaja. And then what happens? Suppose a person embarks on this path of spiritual life, a devotion service to exclusive devotion service to Krishna. Sometimes if he falls, what will be the situation? What will be the consequences? That Sri Narada Deva explains to Vyasadeva in this verse 17. Tektva sudharmam charanambujam hare bhajan abhakvatha pavartade pade dado yadi yatra vabhadram abhudamushikim vartapto abhajadam sudharmadam. One who has forsaken his material occupation to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in a mature stage, and yet there is no danger of being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. So this Vyasadeva is explaining, okay, taking a like to Krishna, understanding the real goal of human life. Sometimes, not sometimes, the one who realizes that, he will take up the devotion service in a very serious way. He will cast aside all his prescribed daily routine or occasional duties. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam that a human being, a jiva, has got obligations towards 6 types of persons. He has to fulfill his obligations. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, verse 5, chapter 5, verse 41 speaks, Devashi Bhutapta Nrinam Pudrinam Nakingaro Nayam Ranicharajan Sarvatmanaye Sharam Sharanyam Vido Mugundam Parihritya Kartam. Deva Rishi Bhuta Apta Nirnam Pidrinam. 6 persons. Bhuta, Deva means demigods, Rishi, saint, Bhuta, all living entities, Apta, friends, Nirnam, human beings, Pidrinam, forefathers. We have an obligation, we are obliged to them because due to their association and because of only you are now existing in this material life. So many help from all these persons. So you have an obligation to them.
Prabhuji, Nranam means what? Nranam?
Apta.
Nrinam means
Human being.
men. Nrinam means men.
Pardon?
Human being.
Human beings. Humankind.
Yeah.
Nrna. Pidrna means forefathers. Deva means demigod. Rishi means saints. Bhuta means general living entities, which is rotating this 84 lakhs species. Apta means friends, family members. Nira means human beings, and Pidra means forefathers. But our obligation to them will be discharged if we serve Mukunda, lotus feet of Mukunda, wholehearted. So you are no longer obliged to render them your service. So the question here is, suppose he does that, attracted to Krishna's lotus feet, but by some quirk of fate, maybe it's because of association, and before his devotion service becomes mature, which will prevent all types of fall down because of some association or because of some state incidents. Sometimes he may be deprived of devotion, may be dragged away from the devotional path, and consequently he may face a fall down. It is possible because of association. Srila Prabhupada gives example of King Bharata, then Chitraketu, and Indridimana. So many examples are there in Srimad Bhagavatam. Bharata was very seriously rendering devotional service, practicing devotional service in his Vanaprastha stage after quitting the kingdom. He went to forest and was very devotedly engaged in devotional service in spiritual life. And then suddenly he got attracted to a stag. And then he left all his spiritual practices. And at the end of his life, when he was thinking about stag only, he became a stag the next life. And like that, Chitraketu also, he made fun of Shiva. And because of that, Parvati cursed him to be a demon. From outsiders, it may look like it's a fall down. But it is not so. He says, bhajan abakwa, because the bhajan has not become mature, he fall down sometime, but that fall down is not accepted as fall down. For devotees, even they fall down also, the imprints of bhakti is so strong that will remain with him in all his next lives. You have the imprints, vasanas of your karmas, but imprints of bhakti is much stronger than imprints of karma. So they will now forget their attachment to Krishna, like Bharata did not forget, Chitraketu did not forget. So the fall down of a devotee cannot be compared to a fall down of a jnani. It's given in the 10th canto, chapter 2, prayers by demigods, verse 32. You have seen that. Ye anya aravindaksha mimuktamanyas tui ashtabhavas avishuddha buddhaye aryuhe kruchera padam padam tada padandyado anadrida yushmadangaraya. The jnanis, they contaminate intelligence. They also worship Krishna, but through the contaminated intelligence. And then what happens? Very, very, very difficulty, they reach their destination of Brahmachudi, and from there it falls again. Because what? Anadrida Yushmadangraya. Because they don't realize Krishna as a person. They consider the form of Krishna to be material, and so the devotion also to be material. And because of this great offense, they fall down. But the fall down of devotees is different, which is given the very next verse in the same chapter, verse 33. Tadha nate madava tovaga kochit Vrishyandi marga toi bhadda sauhridam daya bhigutta vijarat nirbhayam vinaya kiba murdasut prabho tadanate madava tabaga. But the fall down of your devotees is not the same. It's different. It's not the same way this jnanis fall. The Lord of the goddess. If devotee completely in love with you for some times fall from the path of devotion, they do not fall like non-devotees, for you still protect them. Vrishyandi marga tvai baddha suhrda. Vrishyandi marga, but still you have the very strong attachment to Krishna. And because of that, fearlessly they traverse the heads of their opponents and continue to progress in devotional service. Whatever opponents, persons or what situation, whatever opponents you have, they'll defeat these opponents and continue to progress in devotional service. That's why devotees fall down cannot be compared to other fall downs. And this fall down itself, it's not, Vishwanath is actually, it's not fall down. He uses a term. He says that it's a state concession to opponents, because the opponents are the karmis, women who are engaged in the prescribed duties. So using the nyaya, tushyatu durjana nyaya, tushyatu durjana nasha, for satisfaction of the persons on the opposite side. Okay, we make a answer. Even if they fall down, actually they will not fall down. But to just give some concession to the opposing party. Are you following this? On one side, you are the karmis who are very meticulously following this, near the karma. Here the devotees totally reject this near the karma and engage in devotional service. So here, Vishwanath Chakravarti says, yadi va, that usage in this verse, if you can, is this one. Bhajan aba kva pade dayo yadi yatra kva vabhadram ava va. Even if you fall down, even if you fall down, still what is a great loss? Because you are not falling down from devotional path. You actually you're falling down only. And devotion, you're still very steadfast. So even if you fall, if the devotees fall down also, that fall down is not permanent. He doesn't do anything at all. But what happens to a person who is very strictly following this karma kanda session? So that is a question posed. Is giving a question here. Ko vartapto abhajadam sudharmada. Have they really reached the path they are seeking by this karma kanda? By describing and you're fulfilling your prescribed duties near the karma, you're fully discharging it, but you are not worshipping Krishna. Abhajadam. Very meticulously, these people are following these duties, but they are not having devotional service. They will not reach anywhere. They will not reach anywhere. Even if they do for trillions of years, billions of years, they will not reach anywhere. While the devotee who steadfast to Krishna, sometimes only, that is also a remote possibility. So even if he fall down also, it is not a great loss for him. So that's why the beauty of Krishna consciousness, facing Krishna, is Narada is completely convincing Vyasadeva. Okay, you speak to these experts, they will speak to this general public. If by some reason or other, fall down is happening, actually it's not a fall down, he'll bounce back. So this is the advantages of directly focusing on Krishna. Narada is convincing, is stressing this point to Vedavyas. You don't have to fear. First, Vedavyas was fearing that if I introduce a bhakti cult immediately, people will turn away from that. But then you focus on persons who have got a real inclination for spiritual life. You focus on that and they will guide others. And in between, if there is a fall down also, that is immaterial. So in every verse, a stress is given by Narada to directly glorify Krishna continuously and directly. Don't deviate from the path. That is our devotional path. There is a very nice verse in Canto. Fourteenth chapter, Prayers of Brahma. Canto 10, 14th chapter, verse 4. Shreya Shridim Bhaktim Udasyate Vibho Klishyande Kevala Bodhalabdaye Tesham Asokeshala Eva Shishyade Nanyad Yada Stula Ushangadinam. Suppose you discard the devotional service unto you is the best path for self-realization. If someone gives up that path and engages in the cultivation of speculative knowledge, he will simply undergo a troublesome process and will not achieve the desired results. As a person who beats an empty husk of wheat cannot get grain, one who simply speculates cannot achieve self-realization. His only gain is trouble only. So that is the greatness of devotion. and you leave that path and do something else, you're bound to fail. So having satisfied that, and H.G.Satyavrta, he quotes from the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 11.29 chapter, verse 20. 11.29.20, he says that, Nahi angobakrame dvamsa madharmasyo uddhava anuapi maya vivasiddha samyan drigunatam anashisham. Uddhava is addressing, Krishna is addressing Uddhava. I have personally established it. Maya Vyavasida Samyam. I have personally established what this process of Nishkama Bhakti, which is beyond the gunas. Even by starting and not completing the process. Nahi Anga, Anga means dear friend, Upakrame Dhamso. If this not even complete the process, there is no destruction of results. Na Dhamso. Dhamso means destruction. Na Dhamso means there is no destruction at all. In Bhagavad Gita also, there's a nice verse, has the same meaning. Sigdamaji, do you remember that?
Prabhuji?
There is a verse in Bhagavad Gita also saying that there is no loss at all if you are accepting your
Bhakti.
on the path of devotion service. There is a fault, and also there is no loss at all. Neha vikramanashosti pratyavayo na vidyade.
Yes, yes.
Swalpamapi asya dharmasya trayade bhabhaya. Even a small advancement in devotion service can help you to get over the great fear of death and consequence of the aftermath of death. If you fall down also, 6th chapter continues, Shujinam Srimadam Gehe, these people will reside.
Yes, Prabhuji, 2.40.
Yes, 2.40.
Chapter 2 and 40. Yes, that also says.
So, Narada Deva is convincing that you take the devotional path only. You tell people to take the devotional path only. There is no loss at all. While in case of Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga, if you are not able to finish it successfully, again you have to start all over again in your next life. It is not required devotion service. Where you left off, you start. Like Jada Bharata, I was remembering his past life and his devotion service. So he was staying with saintly persons also. And in next life, he realized himself. And what is these people who are left, who are very strictly following this Karmakanda session, but Abhajadam, one is not rendering devotion service. What gain is there for them? What is the gain for them? So, understanding this very nicely, what will the intelligent people supposed to do? That is given in the next verse. Tasyeva hedo prayateda kovido na labhyade yad brahmadam vadyadha tallabhyade dukkhavat anyada sukham kalena sarvatra gabiraram hasa. The wise man strives that happiness which is not attained by jivas wandering from Brahmaloka to lower species. Material happiness is attained in all cases without endeavor, by the law of karma, just like the distress through the force of fast-moving time. So, Kovida means person who is very intelligent. Those people who are not intelligent, who are just doing some karmic activities, they will be attracted. The mercantile community, commercial people will give them so many advertisements. trying to promote their product, forcefully selling this product, influencing these people through advertisement, and they feel that they are enjoying higher life in the higher life in the present life. And the so-called Brahmanas, they'll attract these people, promising some yajnas whereby you can go to higher planets. So both these Brahmins and the Vaishya community, you can say, because you are interested, the Jiva is interested in enhancing the sense gratification in the present life, and they'll be manipulated by these Vaishya communities, I mean the Dharmakandite people. You find so many advertisements in TVs and all that. Designer shirts, everything designer thing, and it will cost you a lot. Suppose you buy an ordinary shirt for 500 rupees, a designer shirt may cost you some 2,000 rupees. The people are attracted by this advertisements, they go for these designer shirts, forgetting the basic principle, value for your money. Normally, when a Krishna conscious person who is shopping, because we also do some middle activities, the first thing, the basic question is, what is the value for the money which you are paying? Are you getting the returns? Or you're just paying somebody some fancy name, some kind of, what do you call, great name is there, a designer shirts he is doing, and you're actually making that person rich only. You're not having any benefit at all. Same way, this Vedas, the Karmakanda section of Vedas, they promises you a lot of things in the future by going to higher planets, Pitraloka and all that. Brahmadam, Upari Adha. Upari Adha means going to higher and lower also if your karma is not good. Now, if your karma is good, by rendering some yajnas, you can have good life in the upper planetary system. Suppose your activity is very, very bad, your action is very bad, karma is very bad, you have to suffer and go down to heavenly, hellish planets. So good work, charitable work, which will yield you planets of heavenly planets of Pitraloka. All the planets of in the lower planets, if you are not really doing stuff, actually they are one and the same. Good work and bad work. By good work, you are promoted to heavenly planets. By bad work, you are degraded to hellish planets. But ultimately, you are within this Brahmana Uparyada, within these planets, this 14 planets. So Bhagavad Gita again says in 8th chapter, verse number 17, Abrahma Bhuvana Loge Punaravartino Arjuna Mam Upaite Kaunteya Punarjanmam Navidyade. Abrahma Bhuvana Loge, right from the Satya-loga to the hellish planets, same things repeating. What is repeating? What is repeating?
Birth.
BODD, Prabhu.
Yes, BODD, the cycle. The cycle is repeating. So what is the great benefit? So, aprarthani, Vishwachakra is quoting from scripture, it's a different scripture. Aprarthani dukkhani yada adhaiva yanti dehinam sugani avitada manye dehinam atrarichyade. Aprarthanadi, if you are not praying for, even if you do not pray for misery, aprarthani dukhyani yadaiva yanti dehinam, it will reach this embodied soul. Dehina means embodied soul. Even if you don't pray for dukkha, If you don't pray for Sukha also, it will reach by the karma effect. By the previous karma which you exuded in previous births, you are sure to get suffering, or you're sure to get the so-called material happiness. So, Bhagavad Gita also advises, therefore, leave alone both these things, both the good work as well as the bad work. Verse number 50 of second chapter will say, Buddhiyuto jahadiha ubhe sugha dushkrude. By using the Buddhi Yoga, discard both this Sukrita as well as Dushkrita. Good work and bad work. Good work means you are promoted to up to Satyaloka. Bad work means you are sent to the lowest planets. But doesn't make a difference ultimately because you are in the cycle. So that what happens? Tasyev hedo prayata, the one who is very intelligent. The philosophy inclined person must not be tempted by such changeable positions. Changeable positions means today you may be in Brahmaloka as Brahma, maybe after 3 or 4 course of years, you may be again demoted as a very small ant or a snake in lower plant. But that means there's changeable positions. One day you are Deva, next one birth you may be Deva. After a few births, because of your karma, you may be a worm. So that's why Srila Prabhupada says a philosophically inclined person must not be tempted by such changeable positions. So he would be inclined, he will be having the permanent life. Permanent life means you can overcome this BODD. You will never die. People are very afraid of death. But if you take Krishna consciousness, you'll never die. The Seva Hedu Prayatedo Kovido. Who is making effort? This Kovida. Kovida means one who is greatly intelligent. So Upari Adha is always misery as well as in Upari Adha, in the higher and lower planets, you will get what? You will get dukkha or sukham. Uncalled for. You don't have to go after this. It'll reach you or come. So people, devotees, they go above this temporary position and discard all those attractions for flimsy things and wholeheartedly engage Krishna consciousness, trying to please Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna, do all the 9 legs of bhakti, and happily go back to Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Any questions? Any clarification? No.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I have one question. On yesterday, you mentioned that first we need to just focus on the chanting with your attention, and then the form appears in the heart in the second stage, and then the pastimes also appear. So, is there any such person today who is in that state? I know Srila Prabhupada ji was there, but in the current world, in the current generation or whatever, is there anybody like that who is experiencing the pastimes of Lord Krishna?
Well, it's very difficult to unless you know the person only, you can see whether that person has reached that In my personal experience, I'm yet to meet such a person.
Okay.
I'm not reject the possibility that there's no person like that after Srila Prabhupada. Nobody is a self-realized person. No, that is not. But obviously, if you look at this the current scenario, you will not find such a person, because such a person will be always self-effulgent. He'll glitter like anything, and everybody will know the quality of that person, isn't it?
Mhm.
Let's say Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami asked his disciple to wait for a self-effulgent personality, and then only do the Diksha, don't give Diksha. So self-effulgent means by just his presence, you can understand that he is a Krishna realized person.
Mhm.
Since there is no person like that, at least in ISKCON at present, we cannot say that there is such person. We cannot really sure that there is some person like that, because obviously it is not there. If such a person is there, everybody can see that person, because he'll be always, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was giving out his light was coming from his body, and Prakashananda Saraswati and all that got impressed. Same way, self-effulgent person cannot be covered. But that doesn't mean that because at present we are not having this kind of self-effulgent. We can always see our acharyas, and they were real persons, and they are self-effulgent persons. They're self-effulgent, they are realized real devotees of Krishna, and we can take inspiration from them. That's why we say that Srila Prabhupada is always a guarantee, 100% guarantee for Srila Prabhupada. You cannot by any means expect such kind of guarantee from others.
Mhm.
That's why we stress that we have to obey the order of Srila Prabhupada, and one is getting initiation, interesting initiation. It's always best to get initiation from Prabhupada only and not from others.
Yeah, Prabhuji. And also I see all the from in the parampara, how come there are no women?
How come?
There are no women, and there are no women who are in the parampara. Is there a reason?
It is actually doesn't mean that no women are self-realized. Actually, this Janvi Devi is there, Nityananda Prabhu's concert. Janvi Devi, she is actually she is a guru for so many persons. She was a spiritual master, and she is a realized person also. Although it is not given the 32, now this one is not there. If you look at our Prema, so many books are there. We can see the qualities of Janvi Devi, the wife of Nityananda Prabhu, and she's accepted as bona fide guru.
Okay.
But then it's a very rare instance. It's a very rare instance. If you are making this ladies gurus, the guru means sannyasi, and guru means he or she has to travel a lot without depending on anyone. Constitutionally, physiopsychologically, it's not possible for Madajis to travel wide and do the preaching all alone.
Mm-hmm.
So this is also one of the issues in ISKCON at present. But that issue is actually, it's not an issue because you are making some ladies at gurus. Actually, not only females, others also not supposed to be gurus. Only Srila Prabhupada is guru. If Srila Prabhupada is accepted as guru, this problem would not have come up.
Mm-hmm.
But regarding your question, yes, we know about Janvi Devi is there.
Yeah, I haven't
She's-
heard of her. That's why I asked.
Please say, you study Nityananda Charitamrita.
Okay, okay, Prabhuji.
Please say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Vancha kalpadruvascha devasindhuva cha paidanam pavane.
वैष्णव अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, थैंक यू।